So my IGCSE student, here is a paper of February March 2025 and you have the time 1 hour 15 minutes for the paper 4 theory and extended. Okay. Now here is question number 1. Figure 1.1 shows the movement of particles through an epithelial cell in the small intestines. And here you may observe in the diagram the particles are moving. So in figure 1.1, arrow P represents the diffusion of oxygen molecules. This arrow represents the diffusion of oxygen molecules. Describe the term what is meant by the diffusion. So here you may observe the particles are moving from a high concentration to the lower concentrations. That means in a diffusion the particles will move from an area of a higher concentration to the area of lower concentration against the concentration gradient and as a result of random movement, because in that diffusion the particles are moving randomly. All right, okay. Next, the question number 2 here is state the type of energy needed for diffusion. Here is the diffusion basically is movement of a particles from a region of a high concentration to a region of lower concentration. So that's mean the movement of the particles. So due to the movement of particles the kinetic energy is produced. So we'll write as kinetic energy. Next question here is carbon dioxide molecules move by the diffusion. Yeah, state the name of the process in humans that produces the carbon dioxide. So it's also the so simple. Aerobic respiration is the process in which the carbon dioxide is produced and large amount of energy is also produced in the form of ATP. Alright, okay. Now figure 1.1, draw an arrow to show the direction of diffusion of carbon dioxide molecules. So direction of diffusion, so here is a direction of diffusion from the of the molecules. All right, okay. Now in the number C, in figure 1.1, arrow Q represent another movement of the particles. Identify the type of particle movement by the arrow Q. So here is the arrow Q. And here is the energy. So we know that the movement of the particles also require energy, and that energy is coming from the process of respiration. So that's why we'll write as the aerobic active transport, and particles are moving against the concentration gradient. So when the particles are moving against the concentration gradient, then they require the energy that comes from the respiration. All right, okay. Next, here is a D part. In figure 1.1, particle R are also moves from the lumen of the small intestine into the epithelial cell. So why the particles R cannot be the start? So if you remember, the cell membrane also act as a semi-permeable membrane, so that only allows smaller molecules to pass through while the larger one can, and the larger one molecules that could be the carbohydrates, proteins, and the lipids. So these are the larger molecules that cannot pass through the cell membrane, because cell membrane act as a selectively permeable membrane, and here starch is a larger molecule, is a carbohydrate, so that cannot pass through the cell membrane. Okay, so we'll write as starch are very large molecule and cannot pass through the cell membrane, and it also broken down by an enzyme amylase to the maltose, and maltose is then break down into the glucose before the absorption. All right, okay. Now let's move on to the other question, that is the E part here, and here is a photograph of the red onion cells. Here you may observe the red onion cells, and this red onion cell is before the immersion or the sunken into the salt solution, and here is the onion cell that is immersed into the salt solution. Alright, okay. Now here is a figure 1.1 and 1.3. These are also explaining the difference in the appearance of the cells before and after of the immersion into the salt solution. So here you may observe that the cells are rigid because they are passing through the against the cell wall. So when the onion cell is in the turgor condition, that they exert the pressure against the cell wall. So after immersion, the salt solution on the onion cells become the sunken and the cytoplasm pulls away from the cell wall. And the reason here is in the hypertonic environment the water moves out of the cell. So when the water moves out of the cell, then more and more water will move out of the cell, and as a result the cell will shrunken. Okay, now let's move on to the question number 2, and here is an internal temperature of a person that is recorded, and here is the time, and here is internal body temperature. So using the info in 2.1, temperature range, yeah, the temperature ranges between 36 to 38. So by minusing them we'll obtain 2 degrees. See, it's also so simple. Okay, now let's move on to the other part of figure 2.1. Draw a line to show the set point for internal body temperature, and it's also so simple. This paper of 2025 February March is also super easy. It's easy peasy. You can just understand the question and write down the answer properly, then you can easily obtain a star in your IGCSE exams. Okay, so it's so simple. 37 here internal body temperature of the person. Here is in the figure 2.1. Here is the constant internal body temperature. Okay, now in the part number 3, the maintenance of internal body temperature. Yeah, the maintenance of internal body temperature is also an example of the homeostatic control. So state the name of the mechanism for the homeostatic control. Yeah, it is negative feedback because it also producing input and as well as the output. Okay, now let's move on to the question number 4, and we have to explain the body temperature changes. Yeah, your body produces a response against the temperature changes. So when the temperature changes drop to 36 degrees, see the thermoreceptor present on the surface of the skin will detect, and they send the impulses to the brain by sending the motor neurons, and as a result they causes the vasoconstriction, and vasoconstriction generating the heat by shivering, and then skin hair will erect too. Okay, got it? So now let's move on to the part number B here, and here is a cross section of human skin, and in the part number A here you may observe that produces the sweat glands. Yeah, basically the sweat glands produces the sweat, so we will put A here. Okay, now in the number C and D, and here is a C, and that is the muscles, and in the number D here you may observe the open and free endings or the nerve. So here is the nerve that have the free ending. Okay, now let's move on to the question number 3 here. This is the percentage of water in the different concentration of human body. Yeah, your water is really essential for your body, and every organ requires different percentages of water. For instance, here eye has 95% of water requirement. So this is the mass of the human eye is 28 grams. Use the info to calculate the mass of the water. So here is percentage of the eye is 95%. For the percent, will divide it by 100 and multiply by its mass, then we'll obtain 27. Okay, Next question here is it describe the importance of water in human body. So as we know that water is extremely important because water act as a solvent that allows many chemical reactions to take place. So that's why water is really essential, and for water is really essential for the metabolism. So water is important to maintain the metabolism, and secondly it is also used into the respiration, excretion, and mainly it's also used to regulating the body temperature. Okay, now let's move on to the part number B, and here is also a cholera, that a disease that is caused by the contaminated water. And here is a diagram 3.2 that cause the cholera pathogen. Here is and state the name of the structure and L and M. And here is there you may observe here are the ribosomes, because ribosomes are the tiny organelles that is totally dispersed or the freely floating inside the cytoplasm. Okay, and M here is you may observe the M here is the cell membrane. Okay, now in the question number 2, identify the two features that are typically of the prokaryotes. So mainly all the prokaryotes have the flagella that helps into the movement, and secondly all the prokaryotes are the fimbriae. Third here is the type of the pathogen that cause the cholera. So here you may observe cholera is responsible due to the bacteria. So the pathogen here is bacteria. Okay, in the number 4, the scientific name for the pathogen that causes the cholera is the Vibrio cholerae, and here is the name of the genus, and here is a species. So in the binomial nomenclature we learned that the first name is the genus name and the second name is the species name. So the genus here is the Vibrio. Okay, so my IGCSE students, your paper is too simple. It's just a piece of cake. So you need to understand the question and write out the answer properly. Okay, now let's move on to the part number 5 here. Explain how the cholera causes the dehydration of the human body. So firstly the cholera releases the toxin, and these toxin causes mole chloride ions, and the mole chloride ions are released into the small intestine that lowers the water potential, and water move into the lumen by the osmosis. So that causes the diarrhea and dehydration. Okay, now let's move on to the part number 6. Complete the sentence by the use of plasmid in genetic modification. So my IGCSE student, in the genetic modification the plasmids are extremely important. So during the genetic modification the human DNA and plasmid DNA are cut by with a restricted enzyme. So when the part of the DNAs are cut and the cut ends are known as the sticky ends, and that are joined together by the use of an other enzyme, and that another enzyme is the DNA ligases. So the modified plasmid also contain the recombinant plasmid. Okay, it's also super easy. Now move on to the question number 4, and here you may observe the human placenta and the umbilical cord, and here is an arrow that is describing the direction of blood flow. So we need to describe the functions of placenta and umbilical cord that is shown into the figure 4.1. So we all know that the placenta is really important for mother and the fetus because it allows many nutrients to pass through, and gaseous exchange is also responsible through the placenta. So that's why the placenta is important. Along with the umbilical cord is important because it also transport nutrients and oxygen to the fetus, and secondly it also important to connect the embryo blood supply to the placenta. Okay, now let's move on to the question number 3, and here is a fetus developed inside an umbilical sac. Yeah, And that umbilical sac is a thin and transparent bag that holds the developing fetus and the amniotic fluid, and this amniotic fluid is surrounding the fetus and that protect the fetus, and it also helps them from to keep them protect from the shock observer. Okay, now let's move on. Here is an STD, that is a sexually transmitted diseases. So syphilis is a sexually transmitted disease. Name another sexually transmitted disease, that is the AIDS, and AIDS is responsible by a virus, that is the human immunodeficiency HIV virus. So we can control the STDs by using the do not use the shared needles, because do not use the contaminated instruments, and secondly use condoms during the intercourse. Okay, now here is a question number 5 that represents the cross section of a leaf, and here is a figure 1.5. Draw a circle of vascular bundle. So these are the vascular bundles. To may write down the circle around here. And here figure 5.1, that draw a label line next to identify the palisade mesophyll tissues. So these are the palisade mesophyll tissues. You just label X around them. Okay, so the name of the cell structure in plasmid where photosynthesis occur. Yeah, photosynthesis occur into the leaves, into the chloroplast. Why? Because the chloroplast contain the pigment chlorophyll that is responsible for the photosynthesis. And here we need to describe the vascular bundle, or in the vascular bundle xylem and the phloem tissues are the present. So xylem is responsible to transport the water and the mineral ions and support the structure of the leaf, and similarly the phloem transports sucrose and the amino acids from source to sink. Okay, in the figure 5.1, from an aquatic plant that is adapted into the water and then leaves float on the surface of the water. So the plants that are adapted into the water are the hydrophytes, because hydro mean water and phytes mean the plants. Next we need to identify the structure T and explain the here is structure T. Basically are the here are the structure T, that is basically the spongy mesophyll cells, and these spongy mesophyll cells provide the larger spaces, keep the leaf flat. And one adaptation to the aquatic plant, they have a stomata on the upper side of the leaves. Okay, now let's move on to the question number 6 here, that is the microplast. These are the pieces of the plastic and with a diameter less than 0.5 centimeter. So this figure 6.1 shows the mass of the microplast in oceans between 2000 and 2040. The data described between 2000 and 2020 is estimated, and the data after the 2020 is predicted. So we need to suggest why the mass of microplast between 2000 and 2020 is shown as an estimated, because it is impossible to find out the exact count of the microplast, because you know the microplasts are very small. Okay, again it's also so simple. Now here is question number 2. We need to use the 6.1, calculate the predicted percentage increase in mass of microplast during 2000 and 2040. So from the 2000 here, and here is a 2040. So from the 2000 above, it is the reading here is 0.2, and 2040 1.5, and it is above than 1.5, so it considered as 1.7. So 1.7 and 1.2 divided by 0.2 and multiply by 100, then obtained by 750. Okay, next question here is phytoplankton are producers that found in oceans. Phytoplankton absorb micronutrients into their cell. Describe the term producers. So again this is also super simple. So producers are those that can make their own food by using energy from sunlight into the photosynthesis. So basically plants are the producers. Okay, In the question number 2 here, figure in the 6.2, you may observe the shearwater bird that feed on fish in the oceans. So here the bird in the figure 6.2 you may observe. So suggest how microplast can end up in consumers such as the shearwater birds. So shearwater birds basically are the aquatic animals that feed on the fish, so which ingest the microplast directly from the polluted ocean areas. So it can also pollute the food chain. Okay. Now let's move on. Move on to the next. The population of shear birds is decreasing. Describe the three ways the population of shear birds can be conserved. So we can conserve its population by making its captivity programs, and secondly we can also conserve it by monitoring their numbers, and lastly we can protect them by the production of their species. And lastly we need to explain the risk of a population if the population size is decreasing. So if the population size is decreasing, it means that there is reduction into their genetic variation. It may cause the inbreeding, extraction, and lastly they are unable to find the niches. Okay, all right. So my IGCSE students, hopefully this video helped you a lot. So here you may observe that your IGCSE exams are super simple. You don't need to take tension, just you need to work hard and take good command on the past paper question. So the first need here is to master the syllabus, and afterward revise the syllabus, and then do the past paper practice. So all these tips may help you a lot to master your IGCSE exams. So if you found this video helpful, then don't forget to subscribe the channel. See you in the next video. Till then, bye bye.